Jaya Nrisimhadev, Jaya Nrisimhadev, Nrisimhadev, Jaya Nrisimhadev. Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Prahlad Maharaj. Jai Prahlad Nrisimha, Jai Prahlad Nrisimha, Jai Prahlad Nrisimha, Jai Prahlad Nrisimha. Jaya Lakshmi Nrisimha, Jaya Nrisimhadev, Jaya Lakshmi Nrisimha, Nrisimhadev. Jai Jai Nrisimha, 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 Jaya Jaya Nrisimha. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Jaya Jaya Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Jaya Jaya Guru Dev. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Vijaya Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamunatiravanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai. Jaya Jaya Giratmana, Jaya Giratmana. Jaya Varahani Simha, Jaya Nrisimha Dev, Jaya Varahani Simha, Jaya Nrisimha Dev. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Книга Кришны, Верховная Личность Бога, 14 глава.
Kṛṣṇa book, chapter number 14, Prayers of the Lord Brahma. We continue to read it.
Так мы читаем слово за словом.
So we read
Предложением
word after
Брахмы,
word
Господа Брахмы.
the prayers of Lord Brahma.
Начало ученической преемственности во Вселенной. Ну вот пока мы не нашли
Here's the beginning
мотивов
of the
молитвы,
parampara. So far we couldn't find any material reasons
пока не нашли. Возможно, еще найдем, потому
for
что
this
продолжается.
action. We might still find it.
Сам Брахма считает себя не совершенно преданным.
Brahma
Он считает,
does
что
not consider himself a pure
в этом
devotee.
мире нет
He thinks
преданных.
there are no devotees, pure devotees in this world, material world. And he thinks
За пределами.
Lord Shiva is much higher than him.
Но и Господь Шива тоже считает, что он не является преданным.
And at the same time, Lord Shiva thinks the
Находится в
same.
теле материальном,
He is not the pure one.
соприкасается с материей. Есть преданные выше, которые не соприкасаются с материей вообще.
There are some devotees
Такие как
that
Прохлад.
are not being touched by the material nature,
Тоже не считает.
just like Prahlad Maharaj. But Prahlad Maharaj,
Все персонажи, личности
he
великие.
does not consider himself a pure devotee,
Шримад Бхагаватам.
neither.
В данном случае это 10-я песня Шримад Бхагаватам. Здесь Господь Брахма, он в этой лиле участвует.
10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam describing that Lord Brahma is participating
Реализация.
in his Lord's
Что он
Leelas,
понимает, как он понимает,
and he's sharing his realizations, the way he understands the Lord.
нет никакого смысла предаваться философским рассуждениям.
So we continue to read.
Не надо мудрствовать или выполнять гимнастические упражнения, стремясь к совершенству мистической йоги. Иногда преданные это понимают так, что не нужно делать гимнастику или спортивные упражнения.
Sometimes devotees think that they should not be engaged in any kind of gymnastics or yoga,
Прослушайте еще раз.
following Lord Brahma's words,
Не надо выполнять
that
гимнастические
there is no need
стремясь к совершенству мистической йоги.
to practice gymnastic
Понятно, что предложение целиком.
in order to reach
А потом
the
рассуждают,
Supreme.
спорят. Нужно просто понять, что
And then there is
страдания
a
удовольствия,
little
которые мы должны
argument
испытать в этом теле,
that the
предопределены.
pain and pleasure that we are
И
supposed
нужно
to
пытаться
get
избежать
in this
страданий,
body
с которыми
were
сопряжено телесное
doomed.
существование, или добиваться счастья с помощью всевозможных.
So there is no need to attain
Мы делаем упражнения.
happiness
Мы знаем, что это не
by practicing any kind of
счастье. Это
stretchings.
поддержание здоровья.
You know, yes, we do that, and
Есть метод.
just to keep us healthy,
Не гимнастический, а
not to
именно
reach any spiritual goal.
развитыми.
We should be developed.
Йога тоже
Mystical yoga
упражнения.
is also giving us some
Это
asanas,
очень тонкая
some
практика.
practice.
Иногда тонкие материалисты изощренно прибегают к
It's a
очень
fine practice.
Но цель
And
именно
some of the
обрести могущество.
true materialists, they might go
Нужно делать в таком настроении.
in order to get their material goals. They go through this practice as well.
Предаться Верховному Господу
It's better to dedicate oneself to
телом, умом и речью.
the Lord and
Такой трансцендентный труд
render
идет,
the service to Him by body, mind, and speech.
тогда как любые другие попытки постичь абсолютную истину обречены на неудачу. Поэтому разумный человек не станет спускаться
The wise man will not go into this mystical yoga practice or
Такой человек преданно служит Верховному Господу, поручая себя Его заботам.
being engaged in this kind of practice,
Он знает,
he's
что
just
всё
dedicate his life to the Lord.
результат его прошлой деятельности.
He knows that everything is the reaction for his past deeds, past life deeds. Look, we have some brains, right?
Человеческое пока еще.
We still have this human form,
Есть два уха,
2 ears, we can hear.
разных сторон света двумя ушами можно слышать. Два уха очень важно.
We can direct our ears
Одно
to
непонятно.
all the different directions.
Два мы сразу.
In this world, we hear it.
Два глаза.
We have 2 eyes, there are 2 eyes.
Где мы это все взяли?
Why did we get all this?
Добились-то упражнениями какими-то гимнастическими,
Were we into some
движениями? Абсолютно бесполезно.
exercises
Ну,
or practice?
откуда?
No,
Господь дал.
we have it. It was given to us
Материальная природа, но так или иначе это его энергия.
by means of material nature, of course, but it was given by the Lord.
Больше ушей.
He could have given us more years.
Полное тело. Как можем получить это философскими рассуждениями?
And we also have this spiritual body. How can we get it by any kind of
Кто так несовершенствует?
philosophical
Это,
speculations?
ну как, более-менее шоу. Это интересно для ума, я думаю. Как
It's some sort of a show.
гимнастика
It's interesting for the mind. There's mind gymnastics.
это гимнастика для ума. Тоже интересно.
It's interesting, but it's a waste of time.
Не нужно. Иногда нужно размять ум, понятно.
Sometimes we need to
Термины.
stretch our mind,
Как всё удивно устроено. Ну и слава Богу.
to meditate on the construction of this universe. But that's
Кто
it.
живет такой простой жизнью,
The one who lives
посвященный
on
природному
a sinful
служению,
life,
наверняка он
simple life,
бессмертную обитель Господа.
he will inherit
Жизнь проста,
the
она
transcendental
Она
adobe
проста,
of
потому
the
что
Lord.
преданный не знает. Он как бы с виду простачок, который не знает, что с ним будет завтра, что Господь хочет, его воля, вот, может не знать. Ну, какая воля, так я и приму. Какая разница? Не гадает на какие-нибудь, что будет завтра, послезавтра, чем сердце успокоится, что было в прошлом, что сейчас, что в будущем.
There is no need to worry about things that were in the past or gonna be in the future. Such a person is pretty simple.
Господь управляет моим
He knows that the Lord,
Я дал себя в его распоряжение.
I'm in control of the Lord. I gave him my life.
С этой точки зрения.
So this point of view,
Поскольку он находится в служении Господу, он непосредственно
that's
находится в
his
служении
understanding. But at the same time, he's like, he knows
настоящего Бога.
that he has the past, future, and the present,
Он знает, что такое здоровое обращение,
and
знает, что
it
такое
depends
йога,
on the will of
знает
the
все
Lord.
тонкости йоги.
He knows all the fine details of yoga.
Кришна, он не взяв в руки оружие,
He's not practicing it. Like Krishna, he was never holding any weapon in his arms.
никаких материальных
But
радостей,
all the armies were destroyed on the Kurukshetra field.
потому что Кришна ему вот такая вот простая вещь, видите.
So that's a simple thing.
Бедный может сказать. Все
A
живые
devotee can
существа неотъемлемо
Actually,
зависят от
every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and Son of the Godhead. Each has the natural right to inherit and share the transcendental pleasures of the Lord, but due to the contact of matter, conditioned living entities have been practically
наследовать.
disinherited.
У нас у каждого есть свой дорог.
Look, we have
Ну, то есть,
the right to get some heritage.
если есть отец, мы дети,
So if there is a father and we are his children, then we have some part
божественных удовольствий Господа. То есть нам туда доступ не
that belongs to us. And it's like this spiritual world
Но из-за
is open for us
соприкосновения с материей
because of that.
обусловленные живые существа фактически
But due to contact of matter, conditioned living entities have been practically
кто воспользуется
disinherited.
методом
If one adopts the simple method of engaging himself in devotional service, automatically he becomes eligible to be freed from material contamination and elevated to the transcendental position of associating with the Supreme Lord. There is no need to ask for permission if you don't send any request. Your father is a powerful one. So any of his relative, like if you have a powerful relative, right, you can enter his place without any requests. What if the wife of president enters his room? She needs to know, like, what is he doing, right? She has the right. They have the right. Godfather, if we, from this perspective, like material perspective, Godfather, like Kṛṣṇa on Goloka Vrindavan, there would be also some sons and fathers, and but nobody really treated seriously. Like children, they never treat seriously their fathers, like little children. They would crawl around and get on the head of their parents and stuff. But these kind of yogis, if you play this role in the material world, Maya will destroy this kind of yogi immediately. If someone will crawl on the Lord's head. Lord Brahma presented himself to Lord Kṛṣṇa as the most presumptuous living creature. Here is the fault. We were looking for some faults. Because he wanted to examine the wonder of his personal power. He stole the boys and calves of the Lord in order to see how the Lord would recover them. Look, Brahma was conditioned by his position, because he is a creator. He has some power. He inherited this body, and he inherited all his speech and thoughts, all the creative energies. No one is equal to Brahma in this regards, because Lord Shiva is a destroyer, and Lord Vishnu, he is a maintainer, but at the same time, when we interact with Lord Vishnu, we forgot. Maya is too strong that we forgot that Krishna is supreme, and I'm not in control. Why do they call him God? Krishna is little. I know Vishnu is the creator. Vishnu created. And who is this little guy? So when he approached Lord Kṛṣṇa with his speech, and he was saying, like, you are Lord Narayan, after that Leela happened, little Krishna was asking him, why do you call me Narayan? I'm just a little cowherd boy. So he was testing him right away. He stole the boys and calves of the Lord in order to see how the Lord would recover them. Now Lord Brahma admitted that his attempt was most presumptuous, and he was attempting to test his energy before the person of original energy. Coming to his senses, Lord Brahma saw that although he was a very powerful living creature in the estimation of all other living creatures within this material world, his power was nothing in comparison with the power of energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a nuclear power weapon was developed, you need to test it, right? The scientists of the material world have invented wonders such as atomic weapon, and when tested in the city or some insignificant place on this planet, such powerful weapons create so-called havoc. But in the atomic weapons are tested, if the atomic weapons are tested on the sun, what is their significance? They're insignificant there. Similarly, Brahma, stealing all the calves and boys from Kṛṣṇa, may be a wonderful display of mystic power. Of course, Brahma can create a living being, but he cannot create the Supreme Lord. He cannot even create some devotees like cowherd boys. Of course, he can copy the devotees, but the qualities, the divine qualities in them, he cannot create. He wouldn't be able to create even one single cowherd boy. But to make a copy is possible. He could have done it. But quality-wise, no. Brahma addressed Lord Kṛṣṇa as Achyuta because the Lord is never forgetful of a little service rendered by his devotee. Achyuta has many explaining ways. Usually it's like the one who is sinless or spotless. So one of the ages of this word Achyuta, the one who never forget a little service rendered by his devotee. Achyuta means he's all kindness. He's spotless. We can remember such a thing, that we should not forget good things. When we are in the Maya, we forget the good things in this world. We forget good actions of other people, and someone forgets the good deeds of ours, and the world is less and less attractive for us, and we are getting more and more irritated and nervous. This way we forget everything. Anger fades this memory. Kṛṣṇa is saying, never forget your friends. There was an interesting story in Vrindavan. There was Prabhupada, and one of the locals came to visit Prabhupada. I think the name was not mentioned. Sometimes Akinchana Das Babaji would come, but it was one of the Brija buses. And he came suddenly, even though the servants were at the doors. They could not catch him. As soon as he came, and Prabhupada, as soon as he saw him, Prabhupada started to laugh, and they spent like a couple of hours just laughing, and they've been speaking Hindi, so none of the devotees around could understand what is going on. The disciples were thinking, like, he just entered Prabhupada's room and they were laughing all the time. Who was it? And they were like, Prabhupada, who was that man? Who? Why is he so whatever? And Prabhupada said, that was my friend, and he never translated to them a single phrase of their conversation. Once Goswami Maharaj told to one of the devotees, he said, you know, you need to understand that your spiritual master doesn't always want to stay a spiritual master in every aspect. For someone, he wants to remain to be a friend or a son, and he is not a spiritual master in that way. Like his mother would never treat him as a spiritual master. She would understand his position, and he's a Diksha guru. He could be a liberated soul. It doesn't mean that there are no friends anymore. Only liberated soul, liberated false ego. Sometimes we have our false ego liberated, and we are thinking that we are not a conditioned soul anymore. This is very important. In the spiritual practice, it is very important. We have a holy name. That's what we need to chant. But frankly, talking about Hare Krishna mantra, not so many people really chanting. Not so many people are really even trying. Those who try sincerely, seriously, their chanting is so much different. Those are the great souls, I think, if they are trying to do it seriously. But the majority, this is not any kind of a criticism, but the majority is more like a playing in devotional service. They just like some sort of a new distraction, entertainment, new cultural thing. Those who really chant the Hare Krishna mantra, they are really elevated souls. And those who really chant, those are very rare. So, because not so much we spend in chanting, not so much of the time, we think we're missing something. So it would be like, something would be not enough, seem to be not enough. And we balance it by being some sort of a fanatic. The determination, like fanatism is determination, and determination does not liberate us from suffering as a material element. It doesn't liberate us from suffering. But it keeps us in a civilized condition. One knows what is good, what is wrong, and it keeps him on a certain balance place. But it's not enough to get this spiritual taste. You need to clean your heart. And it's a question of the practice. How to chant to cleanse your heart. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying we need only 3 days to really get into that, if you do it seriously. But otherwise, it will take you a lifetime, many, many years.
Брахма обратился к Господу Кришне, называя его Ачьютой, поскольку Господь никогда не забывает, да. даже небольшой услуги. Брахма, конечно, сделал очень много, служа Господу. Как верховный правитель этой
As a
вселенной,
Supreme Personality
является
in charge of this particular
верным
universe,
слугой Кришны.
he is without a doubt a faithful servant of Krishna. Therefore, he could
Поскольку ему
appease
удалось
Krishna.
умилостивить Господа Брахма,
He asked
Господа Брахма,
that the
он
Lord
был способен
understand
снискать
him
своим
as a
покорным слугой и простить его.
subordinate
И большую
servant
оплошность любви.
whose little mistake and impudence might be excused.
Ну, это незначительно.
He admitted that he was puffed up
Он признал, что
by his powerful position.
и высоким положением.
He said it was a little mistake that he made.
И повелевает
By his
материализму
powerful
устраивать
position
его
as Lord
его
Brahma, because
и
he is the qualitative incarnation of the mode of passion
Брахма надеялся,
within
что
this
Брахма,
material
в
world.
конце концов, слуга
This
Кришны,
was natural for him.
смилуется над ним и простит его вину. Вот, то есть многие преданные не хотят никакого положения.
Many devotees, they
Многие, скорее всего,
do not want any kind of
есть такие возвышенные души.
position.
Не хотят принимать никакого
Not so many, but
потому что любое
a few,
положение
some of the devotees, they don't want to
это,
get any
есть
position
в этом опасность, риск.
because it's risky.
Во всяком случае, даже в сознании Кришны, пока мы исполняем какое-то служение, мы все равно себя с ним отождествляем. А мы всего лишь джива.
As long as we render some service,
Под влиянием находимся материи.
we are being conditioned, and we
Поэтому нам будет
think
стоить усилий поддерживать сознание Кришны.
we are more elevated, but we are just jiva.
Таким положением.
So sometimes the devotees, they don't want to accept any kind of a position.
Некоторые достигают такого уровня. Ну, как правило, эти души
Some
редко
get
рождаются,
this high.
иногда вообще не рождаются на земном уровне, где именно к положению стремятся живут. Даже приходят те, кто
And
славится.
some of them, they don't even get birth in this world.
Для таких
But there's a different places for such souls.
высоким положением быть мудрецом там все
It's not a great position to be a
в Исконе. Мы не
sage or wiser in that place, like in ISKCON here,
люди на нас смотрят.
while we are being around each other. Nobody really thinks that somebody is special. But if we go outside, the outside world, all the people, they think, oh, he's unusual. He's very unusual. This is where we think ourselves
В Исконом бабах,
is unusual.
Ренат описывает.
But when we are getting to these ISKCON places,
Пойду лучше проповедовать последователям.
they say, Trinatapi Sunichana, and right away you're nobody. So you think, I will.
Но для кого-то это
It's
не
better for me to go somewhere there.
стратегичный такой место, как Искон. Где нельзя
But there are some guys who are just looking for places, such places as ISKCON.
Ну вот, поскольку гуна аватара Брахма такой вот,
Brahma is Guna Avatara, and he's an elevated soul.
время к времени.
And sometimes he's making this mistake. But from time to time, in his case, it's like every day he's going through this lila.
Каждый день чем он занимается?
Just like we go to work every day, we have to remember Krishna every day.
Господь Брахма понял свою
Lord Brahma realized his actual position.
он
He is certainly the supreme teacher of this universe,
управляет
in charge of the production of material nature, considering of the complete material energy.
природой, который состоит из
False ego, sky, air, fire, water, and earth.
воздуха, огня, воды и земли. Вселенная огромна.
Such a universe may be gigantic, but it can be measured just as we measure our body as 7 spans. Generally, everyone's the spans, how we measure it, like 7 times. 7 times. We can measure each other and see. These are the proportions of the body. the height of the body 7 times bigger than the spans. We were taught in school that you need to take 7 heads, and dealing with a child, you need to take 4 heads, or something like that. But when you grow, the proportions are different. Generally, everyone's personal bodily measurement is calculated to be 7 spans of his hand. Aside from this universe, there are unlimited other universes which are outside the jurisdiction of this particular Lord Brahma, just as innumerable atomic infinitesimal fragments pass through the holes of the screened windows, so millions and trillions of universe in their seeding form are coming out from the bodily pores of Mahavishnu. It's really hard to measure the things that Prabhupada is explaining, like the bubbles in the ocean. How many bubbles we can measure, we can count. Mahavishnu has, out of his bodily pores, there would come millions and trillions of universes, and this is just partially. So, Lord Brahma therefore compared himself to a little child within the womb of his mother. If the child within the womb plays with his hands and legs, and while playing touches the body of the mother, is the mother offended with the child? Of course she isn't. Similarly, Lord Brahma may be a very great personality, and yet not only Brahma, but everything that is existing within the womb of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord's energy is all-pervading. There is no place in the creation where it is not acting. Since everything is existing within the energy of the Lord, the Brahma of this universe and the Brahma of the many other millions and trillions of universes are existing within the energy of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord is considered to be the mother, and everything existing within the womb of the mother is considered to be a child. Look, a child is always playing around mom and inside, and he could defecate or he urine, and she's still okay. Lord Brahma then said that this birth was from the lotus flower which blossomed from the navel of Narayan after the dissolution of the 3 worlds or 3 planetary systems known as Burloka, Bhuvarloka, Svarloka. The universe is divided into 3 divisions, namely Svarga, Martya and Patala. These 3 planetary systems are merged into water at the time of dissolution. At the time Narayan, a plenary portion of Kṛṣṇa, lies down on the water, and gradually a lotus stem grows from his navel, and from the lotus flower Brahma is born. It is naturally concluded that the mother of the Brahma is Narayan. Because the Lord is the resting place of all the living entities after the dissolution of the universe, he is called Narayan. The word Nara means aggregate total of all living entities, and Ayana means the resting place. The form of Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu is called Narayan because he rests himself on the water. In addition, he is the resting place of all living creatures. Besides that, Narayan is also present in everyone's heart, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. In that sense, also the Lord is Narayan, as Ayan means the source of knowledge, as well as the resting place. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that he that the remembrance of the living entity is due to the presence of the Supersoul within heart. Look, this is Sanskrit. It's very amazing that it gives you this meaning of all the little things inside of the name. Sanskrit is the language of thoughtful man, the one who has very quick mind speaks Sanskrit. After changing the body, the living creature forgets everything of his past time, but because Narayan, the Supreme Soul, is present within his heart, he is reminded by him to act according to his past desire. Lord Brahma wanted to prove that Kṛṣṇa is the original Narayan, that he is the source of Narayan, and that Narayan is not an exhibition of the external energy, Maya, but is an expansion of spiritual energy. The material expansion, there are some, and there are some spiritual expansion. The activities of the external energy or Maya are exhibited after the creation of this cosmic world, and the original spiritual energy of Narayan was acting before the creation, so the expansion of Narayan from Narayan to Karnadakashaya Vishnu and Karanakashaya Vishnu and Garbhadakashaya Vishnu, from Garbhadakashaya Vishnu to Kshiradakashaya Vishnu, and from Kshiradakashaya Vishnu to everyone's heart are actually Krishna's expansion, manifestation of his spiritual energy. They are not conducted by the material energy. Therefore, they are not temporary. Anything conducted by the material energy is temporary, but everything executed by the spiritual energy is eternal. So Brahma got a darshan of Narayan first before he started to create. He needed some example to take. Like if a man creates, he needs some source of inspiration. He needs to see something first. Just like the forms or sounds that are being perceived by musicians. Then he finds the melody, the form. He notices it. So the same Brahma, as long as he could notice Narayan, then he could get the understanding of how he needs to create it. Otherwise, it would be just foolish actions. It would be disgusting, this kind of creation without Narayan. Lord Brahma reconfirmed his statement establishing Kṛṣṇa as the original Narayan. He said that the Lord's gigantic universal form is resting on the water known as Garbhadaka. He spoke as follows: "This gigantic universal form is another manifestation of your energy. On account of his resting on the water, this universal form is also Narayan, and we are all within the womb of this Narayan form. So we are inside of Narayan. We always think like, what is inside of me? There is a soul, but this is why vice versa. I see you different Narayan forms everywhere. I can see you on the water, I can feel you within my heart, and I also see you before me now. You are the original Narayan." Brahma could see Narayan everywhere. My dear Lord, in this incarnation you have proved that you are the supreme controller of Maya. You remain within the cosmic manifestation, and yet the whole creation is within you. This fact has already been proved by you when you exhibited the whole universe creation within your mouth before your mother, Yashoda. By your inconvincible potency of Yogamaya, you can effect such things without external help. My dear Lord Krishna, the whole cosmic manifestation that we are visualizing at present is all living within your body. Yet I am seeing you outside, and you are also seeing me outside. How can such things happen without being influenced by your inconvincible energy? These things are really hard to explain. We think that it can be explained because it is written about, but we are using just words, some terms, determinations, some terms. We think that if we are using a term, certain term, that it is understood, that something is understood, but this is not the way Brahma works. He is a creator. Like the name Kṛṣṇa, it's not a term, it's Krishna himself. And Lord Brahma, this is his reality. He could see that everything within the body of the Lord is also outside of him. He could see himself inside of the Lord Narayan body, but at the same time he was standing before him. Lord Brahma was saying it is inconvincible to these two sides to see. I think with the time, when we chant Hare Krishna mantra, we will be separated from these terms, definitions, and we will get this spiritual essence. Spiritual essence has no difference between the definitions and its real value. Look, if there is no name, if there is a man with no name, we cannot find him then. But the soul is so much different from it. The dog knows his master immediately by the smell, by the odor. So this smell odor is like spirit. So by the spirit we can recognize someone. Lord Brahma stressed herein that without accepting the inconvincible energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot explain things as they are. He continued, "My dear Lord, leaving aside all other things and just considering today's happening, what I've seen, are not all due to your inconvincible energies. First of all, I saw you alone. Thereafter, you expanded yourself as your cowherd boyfriends, the calves and the whole existence of Vrindavana. Then I saw you and all the boys and calves as four-handed Vishnus, and they were being worshipped by all elements of all demigods, including myself. Again, they were all wound up, and you remained alone, as you were before. Does this not mean that you are the Supreme Lord Narayan, the origin of everything, that everything emanates from you and again enters into you, leaving you the same as before?" So Brahma is giving us this description. Simultaneously, you can see the Lord through many points, like through the eyes of Brahma, or through the witnesses, like some ordinary people. So there's a universe and the Brahma, and he saw these boys, cowherd boys and calves, and that was the creation of Brahma. and the universe is also a creation of Brahma. But Kṛṣṇa, who is Kṛṣṇa?
Он увидел, что Кришна творец этих мальчиков-пастушков.
He saw that Kṛṣṇa was the creator of those cowherd boys,
Они продублированы
because
в материальной
there are some eternal
природе. Все
forms,
мальчики-пастушки достигли
and these
высокого
forms, they're being copied from the eternal forms.
Поэтому он не
So
мог
Brahma
разобраться
got
в
confused, and that way he could not steal those
Это было как бы
cowherd
явление,
boys.
действие майи, йога
There was
Йога-майя и
the
мама,
influence of Yoga Maya
которая ввела его в заблуждение, сбила с толку его.
that misled him.
Если даже он украл как бы их тела,
Even though Brahma could steal the bodies of those boys, still
это уже что-то,
the qualities remained, because some of the things, some things like souls, the Lord maintains himself.
а эти тела майя крадет постоянно, она у нас отбирает.
And the bodies are being taken by Maya all the time in the circle of samsara.
Это неизменно, потому
The
что
soul remains the same, because
каждой души пребывает
Krishna
ее желание, ее образ,
is the
индивидуальность.
supreme controller.
И напоминает,
So the individuality
индивидуальность исходит от Кришны у каждого.
comes from Krishna.
Брахма видит одновременно, сейчас видел то и другое. Что на
And
самом
Brahma,
деле это не
he
моё
sees simultaneously these two sides.
творение. Он сам знает каждую
He
душу,
sees
он
that
знает также и меня.
even though he
Я
created
тоже
some
его творение.
things,
Ведь он
he did
создал.
not create anything really.
Как эти мальчики-пастушки, как все эти живые существа,
Just like those cowherd boys and all the living entities and all the grass and trees and atoms, everything being pierced
при этом
by
одновременно
Narayan.
я индивидуальное живое существо, Брахма говорит,
At the same time, Brahma says, I am an individual living
в
being.
ограниченных просторах его энергии, он
And at the
является
same time,
я могу с ним разговаривать,
He's
он меня также
the
понимает
Supreme Lord. He's
отдельную дживу,
emanating. He's manifesting
как и все
before me.
полностью. То есть наделяет полной ценой каждую дживу.
And
Такая
Krishna
магия,
gives the value to
полноценная,
every
потому
living
что Кришна
entity.
поддерживает ее.
He is the maintainer.
Джива неотделима от Кришны.
Jiva cannot be separated from Krishna.
Люди, не ведающие о твоей непостижимой энергии, не могут понять,
Persons who are unaware of your inconceivable energy, cannot understand that you alone expand yourself as a creator Brahma, the maintainer Vishnu, and the annihilator Shiva. Persons who are not in awareness of things as they contemplate that I, Brahma,
и ты приходишь в
am the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, and Lord Shiva is the annihilator. Actually, you alone are everything, creator, maintainer, and annihilator.
среди людей, ты появляешься
Similarly,
Господь.
you expand yourself in different incarnations. Among the demigods, you incarnate as Vamanadeva. Among the great sages, you incarnate as Parashurama. Among the human beings, you appear as yourself, Lord Krishna, or as Lord Rama. Among the animals, you appear as the boar incarnation. And among the aquatics, you appear as fish incarnations. And yet you have no appearances or disappearance. You are always eternal. Your appearance and disappearance are made possible by your inconvincible energy just to give protection to the faithful devotees and to annihilate the faithless
Тебя исходит йога-майя,
demons.
и все твои
O my Lord,
как ты действуешь,
O all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead, or Super Soul, controller of all mystic powers, no one can appreciate your transcendental pastimes as they are exhibited within these three words. No one can estimate how you have expanded your Yoga Maya and your incarnations, and how you act by your transcendental energy. My dear Lord, this whole cosmic manifestation is just like a flesh and dream, and its temporary existence simply disturbs the mind.
здесь мы остановимся.
So we will stop here now.
Вот такие удивительные молитвы.
This is the amazing prayers from the Lord Brahma we hear.
Голова
Four-headed Brahma,
Творца.
the Creator. Any questions today? First two questions. How can we make our relationship more deep? Relationship with whom? Is it mentioned? No. What is the basis of any relationship? The relationship starts with investigation of the topic. If we are interested in certain personality, we start to investigate him. We consider the way he moves, he speaks. Then we take into consideration his background, like where he studied. It comes in stages. It was the first time. And the second stage is when we put our energy, when we are concentrate on a certain on rendering a service to the Lord or to this person, and that way we can get into understanding of his. We understand about his qualities. This way we go deeper. If we are still okay with everything we are learning about, then we start to feel the signs of love towards that person. Some sort of love manifests. And that way we go deeper in our relationship. And we find that besides those good qualities, there are some bad qualities. That's why some guys, they stay away from observing these bad qualities in certain people. Like sometimes you fall in love, you crush on a certain person, on a girl or boy who is not a good person. If we want to go deeper, we need to get rid of the faults in our character, and both sides has to work on its own faults. That way the relationship go deeper. And the deepest relationship is possible just between the super soul and our soul. Even though we would have some faults in our character, in our the qualities, bad qualities, the relationship between the super soul and the soul is perfect. Usually, if we just perceive situation by our senses, the senses would say, he is bad, he does these things, these things are wrong. So if it's just an ordinary, mundane relationship, it has no value. Because you change it, you change all your friends, and you have your next life. It's really useless that way. We just spend our time here, hanging here in this world with the friends, just fooling around. What is the purpose of this prayer of Lord Brahma? This prayer is so complicated. The goal of his prayer is to clean himself and to get to get even closer to the Lord. We're getting closer to the Lord when we are describing His qualities. It's not even us who is getting closer, but the Lord is getting closer to us when we're describing His qualities. We see that it is unconceivable, limitless, and this is how we glorify the Lord. This process is making the Lord closer to us. And this way, the people feel happiness by rendering this process, because it's a natural thing to do for the soul to glorify, to be amazed by something, but because there is no envy in it. It's transcendental, it's natural. There are no material goals, any material goals for any kind of gain. The Lord, Brahmā, he remained puffed up because he knows he was the secondary creator. So he kind of forgot his real position. And that's why he was tested by Lord Krishna. So it's more like a spiritual practice for us. We can also listen into or give into a class of Bhagavatam. We could also say, like, before this, I was not living at all. We could be practicing for many years, and one day we would say, it seemed like I was not alive before. So Brahmā is like trying to deepen his relationship, and that's why he's always hankering regularly. Is there any esoterical sort of connection between four heads of Brahmā and four Kumaras, the sons, his sons? This devotee, the devotee who asked the question, he can make this study. Yeah, the Kumaras came out of his elevated state of mind, of Brahmas. And that way, he made a mistake. He was hoping that these boys, they will become older and they will be engaged in this, in his service, in helping him in creation of this material universe. And then he understood that it was a mistake, that the material universe should be created in a different way. So he said it was okay for them. It was a mistake, and then he understood that he needed to think differently to make this material world, and he got some anger because of those four Kumaras. His sons didn't want to listen to him and follow his orders. So we kind of inherited these thoughts also, and out of his anger, Brahma's anger, Lord Shiva was born. And Lord Shiva also has no strings attached. He is a destroyer of the material cosmos. he started to scream immediately and misbehave as if and destroy everything. So Brahma realized this is not the way I should think in order to create this universe. Neither. And then, so he was kind of unbalanced when he started to make this creation. That was his action. But according to the Lord, everything was according to the Lord's plan. And Brahma, he could understand that he was not perfect as the creator, not a perfect creator. How can we be connected to each other in the society of devotees when everyone has his own goal of self-realization? Self-realization means some sort of organization. When we are not self-realized, we need some external organization. Those who are self-realized, they already organized. It's naturally there. For a self-realized person, there is no need of this. They are automatically organized. Nobody is misbehaving or following against his nature. So there is no need in any sort of management. They know how to get into a relationship. There might be some management involved, but it's not a structure that is going to punish someone or prescribing some gifts. So for those devotees who are not spiritualized, they need this structure, Varna Ashram Dharma as well is needed. The rest, they don't need any because they are not violating any laws. They are not lazy. Nobody needs to be pushed among them. Just imagine yourself the owner of the house. Usually you don't pay attention to the walls, but if there is a crack in the wall, immediately it attracts your attention. You need to do something about it. So, the same way, if we know everything belongs to Krishna, everything is Krishna, there is no need to pay attention to all the rest. I immediately know what to do. But the beginner thinks differently. He thinks that just like ISKCON is made for us, and he thinks that all the material world is not for me. But if I am conditioned, like I think I am a part of Namahata or certain yatra, then I don't see the whole ISKCON, the whole international society. I see just this yatra, and if I'm getting into argue or fight with some devotee in that yatra, that's the end of ISKCON in my eyes. So we have to expand our understanding of ISKCON. because ISKCON is so diverse. There are so many temples, and it's so much diverse than 20 years ago. 20 years ago or more, ISKCON was like many brahmachari ashrams and Sankirtana, book distribution. Nowadays, ISKCON has so much more to offer. It's so much diverse. And we need to be really flexible to be able, in order to be able to perceive this kind of ISKCON, the diversity of ISKCON. Otherwise, we won't be able to understand the diversity in the spiritual world. Look, the materialists, they cannot balance this world. Even the United Nations, they cannot. Americans would like to, are trying. They try to influence the whole world, make the economy like general economy, universal economy. They fail. People are using the currency, they're using the dollars, but they don't like Americans in this way. So our organization has to be connected with the spiritual practice. Can a devotee measure his spiritual path and spiritual level? It depends on the devotee. If he's ripe one, if he's elevated, then he can, but the beginner, he cannot. Just like the schoolboy graduating from the school, and he's getting his first diploma. He thinks, I know everything now. I need to, as soon as I get a diploma from the university, I can reach anything in this world. So I graduated from preschool, the high school, and college, and university, and now I'm done. But there are some people who are more experienced. When we speak to some senior devotees as friends, we don't make any marks to each other. We don't need to go into this finding faults in them, because everyone is in the process of that and speaks of his own faults all the time. But for the beginner, it is really hard to convince him that he is in Maya. He thinks he can measure his level. Of course, our self-realization gives us this understanding. We have to try to understand ourselves. We need to follow the instructions. We have to stay sane. When I look at my spiritual master, I immediately remember myself as a servant of him. It brings me back to my position.
Мы отчитываемся перед духовным учителем, потому что тут есть проповедь, какие-то программы, там у нас есть какое-то свое развитие.
We tell our spiritual master what sort of activity I was involved into,
Когда мы это предлагаем духовному учителю,
because when we offer our activity to the spiritual master, we understand it was my spiritual master's mercy, so I could do anything. Any more questions? So if we really want to get self-realized, we should take some responsibility for ISKCON. Yes, ISKCON is the place for self-realization. So if you are into self-realization, then you depending on how seriously you are in this process, you need to take responsibility for ISKCON. That way you can be responsible. It is not only about some professional qualities. We have to be in the process of self-realization. But at the same time, self-realization means engaging our professional qualities. There are some family values in there, professional qualities, professional values. Self-realization includes everything. Otherwise, everything falls apart. How is it possible that a person is a pro in certain things, but he has bad qualities, or he is a bad person? It means he is not balanced, he is not self-realized. What is the right way to chant Hare Krishna mantra with love and devotion? Well, it's hard to say. Once Prabhupada came to his god brother, and they had some conversation, and they discussed the same topic, how to reach this gift of pure chanting, pure devotional service. And Prabhupada said, I know the formula to do it, but I don't know how to apply it. It's an individual thing. So we know the formula, but it's up to everyone to apply it in his life according to his own life. This is the third verse of Kṛṣṇa, the formula. It starts with Trinatapi Sunichana, and nobody can do it for us. It's not enough to have this formula. The only thing we can say is like, come here, come here, come here. Don't go too far. Don't be distracted. Listen, listen. Remember to the instructions. The rest should be done by the disciple. The disciple, by listening to his Guru Maharaj, he is getting this call from Guru. Guru is always calling. and he has to move in the direction. It's not like you put some verses of Shikshashtaka in your pockets and your backpack and you're ready. No, you have to move. We have the energy given to us, the living force, the living energy in us should be moving towards Krishna. In Adi Lila, second chapter, it is said about fourth and fifth. The spiritual world is called fourth dimension. And what about fifth dimension? It is also mentioned. So the spiritual world is Turiya. The sleep and awakeness is the two, are the two. And fourth is the Turiya. And fifth dimension, what is fifth dimension? I don't know. If Prabhupada wouldn't bring Hare Krishna mantra to the West, what would it be? I guess I just can share my personal opinion. If there are no temples of Hare Krishna, no temples, no Radha Yatra, no Harinamas, what would it be? There would be only illicit sex, I guess. And it would be worse than we can imagine. I think I would say people would become more established in the animal way of living, and it would be irreversible. Someone said that Prabhupada brought Krishna consciousness to this world in the most critical moment. It was the point of no return. So it was really, the world was in a big danger. So he is a savior. He saved this world from the ultimate degradation. That's my personal opinion. These pure devotees, can they really understand that they are pure devotees? And how, if they are, how can they be fallen or fall? No, the souls never fall. But from the external point of view, it's possible, like Maharaj Bharata. But in his heart he never fall. Even though he made this mistake with Brahmana, offending Brahmana, and he had to die. In the material world, anything can happen, but he never fall. He didn't fall. So those elevated souls, they never fall in his heart. They still develop devotion in his heart. And we can also share the experience, seeing how the senior devotees would leave the material world, like Ananta Shanti Prabhu. Even if you're engaged into some, like Ananta Shanti, he was into some mode, into some practice that were connected to the mode of goodness and stuff. It was all external. Because inside he could not forget Srila Prabhupada. And actually, I've been considering him as a devotee of Srila Prabhupada. Externally, he would might look like fallen. He would criticize sometimes, and then he would stop criticizing. But I could see that he could not hide his devotion to Srila Prabhupada. It's indestructible. So the real devotee, he never falls. And even when he falls externally, he remains devotee in his heart. Just like Maharaja Bharata. He was on the level of Baba. And he had to have another life and has another life in Brahmana's family. So these facts. So when you facing a certain problem in this life and you cannot proceed with your service in ISKCON, sometimes it happens. Some bad memories that prevent us from rejoining. Like there was one time a devotee came back to ISKCON and he said, "I'm nobody here. No, I don't know anyone. Everybody is like treating him as a newcomer or external." And speaking to such guys, I realized all this time they were into the progress. They were progressing actually. They were fighting their senses, and Kṛṣṇa remained in their heart. It's always an amazing stories. There are some things to learn. And Prabhupada didn't want us to leave ISKCON, but sometimes it happens. And some devotees come back in 15 years. One devotee, I had a phone call, and 15 years ago he said, I made an offense. And then I left ISKCON. And I thought, oh my God, it's like 15 years ago, it's been so much past. What is now, ISKCON now and ISKCON before, there's a big difference. And now, 15 years later, I understand I left ISKCON because I was criticizing devotees. And so now I call all the devotees I offended, and I ask for apologies. And I try to chant Hare Krishna mantra again, and I'm in the process again. So there are many, many stories like that. They fall, they rise up, they fall, they rise up. But in the end, we need to leave this place. We are not going to stay here eternally. Gandharvika is not going to stay here, for sure. She's holding this, she's fasting all the time. She knows so much. She looks like she has no idea. Okay, thank you so much. It's an Ekadashi today. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.